Good morning. Welcome to Columbia, Missouri for our Gans Creek Classic this morning. We'll start with the men's race about 10 minutes from now. That's a 9 o'clock start for their 8 kilometers, and we'll go more into details about what to expect in that race in just a few moments. We do welcome you to Gans Creek. Beautiful facility that opened just a year ago, so this is only our second official collegiate race on this course. We had a big race, 10 races actually, last Saturday for high schoolers who have done their cross-country state championship last year and will return here early in November for another state cross-country championship. Again, we appreciate you being here today. We understand the crowd will be a little bit smaller here in person than what we would prefer that it would be. And we do appreciate you abiding by the Boone County and Columbia rules in regard to COVID-19 protection. At this time, as we are 10 minutes away from the start, our flag of the United States is to the east of the finish line, and so if we may, we will stand, and as you are able and willing and do honor America, we will play our national anthem. We thank you for that, and we will get prepared for the second Gans Creek Classic for the collegiate teams. A couple of the teams competing today were here last year, and we'll go through some of the results from last year as we get into this race. It's a 8-kilometer, 8K race for the men. They'll be running the 2-kilometer loop first and then 2 following 3-kilometer loops. If you haven't explored the course, we ask that you do so because it is a beautiful course made specifically for cross-country. And it is a spectacular opportunity for you to get some good viewing of cross-country without yourself having to put in a cross-country workout if you're here in Columbia today. The berms that many people will stand upon, those are right up there. There's a little trail, and you can go around the turn, and just off of that turn, south of that berm, and it turns to the east, you'll be able to see a lot of the running there also. We do have spots along the way where you are going to be guided to some spectator positions. We have markers also, and basically a gate and an area where you can see each of the kilometers. You'll see the scoreboard at the finish line. That is going to be a good source of information, as we will also have video cameras at the split marks for each kilometer, and also a camera that will be on a lead vehicle today. So a great opportunity to follow along, and you'll see a lot of information that Cody Branch puts up for prime time on the scoreboard at the end and even at the kilometer marks. So it's well covered for those of you who are watching online. If we're up and you've already tuned in online, we appreciate your support there. We'll give you an idea of what the weather is like here. It's cloudy. Slight breeze. It looks like it's coming from the south-southeast. We've had a little bit of rain so far. Not a lot of measurable rain at this point in time, but we have had some and do expect more before this day is done. And our temperature as we head into the 9 o'clock hour is, I believe, 48 degrees. And again, the chance of rain for the rest of this morning is right around 80% this hour. It drops down to 30% as we get a little bit deeper into the morning. So again, east-southeast winds, generally just under 10 miles an hour. 48 is the temperature. With that wind, the wind chill feels like 45, according to what we have as far as the temperatures are concerned. We'll be using 3 boxes for each team. We have 32 men scheduled to be running in the first race. Missouri will bring 14 into this race. The Tigers had last year's Gans Creek Classic overall winner. It was Thomas George in his senior year for the Tigers. He ran just under 24 minutes and 50 seconds in this race. Missouri was the winning team last year. There were 7 squads represented. Of course, the numbers kept down a bit this year because of restrictions due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Missouri, Texas A&M, they did 1-2 in the men's team race a year ago and just separated by 2 points in that race. Also, schools represented a year ago were Drake, North Florida, St. Louis, Texas Tech, and Illinois State. Today, we welcome Texas A&M and Vanderbilt as the other schools into the race on the men's side. Let's give you the runners for Missouri, and then we can tell you more about some of these runners for all of the teams once we get started. We're 5 minutes away from the first gun to start the race. Angus Beer, Davis Hilmerick, Robert Kuhlman, Ryan Mata, Jackson McAllister, Michael Moriarty, Blake Morris, Martine Prodanoff, William Sinclair, Jack Warner, Marquette Wilhite, Luke Winkler, Kieran Wood, and Quentin Worley going to be on the start line for the Tigers in boxes 20, 21, and 22. Most of this team freshmen. There are, according to the entry list, 10 of the 14 who are freshmen for the Tigers. One of the freshmen, William Sinclair, is the SEC Freshman of the Week after the performance for Sinclair at the Commodore Classic, where he finished 3rd overall. Again, some of the runners to watch for the Tigers: Kieran Wood, who comes back again for his senior year; Sinclair, who we've mentioned already; Wilhite, who has had a good career for the Tigers; and also one of the other juniors, upperclassman, Martine Prodanoff, who returns for another year, and we can tell you more about his running as the race progresses. He was 8th in this race a year ago. We welcome Texas A&M. They will be in boxes 10, 11, and 12. Juan Arcila, Joseph Ben, Cooper Kothra, Jonathan Chung, Colton Colonna, Gavin Hoffpower, Siddharth Jayaraman, and Tim McElhaney, Wes McPhail, Teddy Radke. That rounds out the 10 that'll be running for Texas A&M. They also have a good list of freshmen in their race. 6 of the 10 are freshmen. Their top finisher from the prior race that they ran in was Teddy Radke. He was 7th at the LSU SEC preview. Vanderbilt squad numbers 8, and they will be Jonah Bird, Matthew Estopanol, Edward Harpstead, Ben Kramer, Nick Laning, Lucas Mowry, Corey Pasternak, and Caleb Van Geffen. We'll be watching to see some of the returners from last year. Estopanol was 2nd on the team in the SEC race a year ago and finished 35th. Jonah Bird ran 5th and 6th on the team last year, and Caleb Van Geffen 4th on the team last year. So those are the squads. We're going to let the starter take over with some instructions, and we'll be ready to go about 2 or 3 minutes. Again, welcome. This is year number 2 of the Gans Creek Classic, the men's 8-kilometer, ready to start. So here we have the wide beginning at the Gans Creek course, and what it does is taper down, but it's quite a long stretch. Just imagine this all filled with 40-plus boxes of runners. You'll also be able to see a lead vehicle as they are going to angle towards the first turn, which will come up as they head south. This is the longest stretch heading south. They'll take a turn towards the east and make a loop around, and then they'll be at the kilometer mark. There's a pond on this course. They'll be running around that pond as they go right past the first K mark. And the first loop is going to be 2,000 meters, and then they'll follow that up with 3,000 meters. Again, 32 at the start line for the start of the men's race. Last year's winning time, 24:49.9. We'll round off a lot of these times as people oftentimes make it more convenient to do so at cross-country races. That was Thomas George of Missouri. We have told you that there are some of these racers, Texas A&M and Missouri, who returned for a second go at the Gans Creek. One of those, the top finisher who returns from Missouri. He was a sophomore running this course last year, Martin Prodanov, and he was 8th a year ago, ran a 25:24. Right behind him, Wes McPhail, and McPhail is back to run again for Texas A&M. McPhail with a 25:26, so just a couple of seconds separating them. Already these teams, Missouri and Vanderbilt, they had competed in the Vanderbilt Commodore Classic. That was 2 weeks ago on September the 19th. William Sinclair finished third behind two Kentucky runners in that race. That race was just under 8,000 meters. It was listed on their information sheet as 7,900 meters. We can tell you that this course has been measured exact, and it is pretty precise as far as the meters are concerned. William Sinclair, who opened for the Tigers at that Commodore Classic with a third-place finish. He's the freshman out of New Zealand. He and a Vanderbilt runner side by side. They made that turn and then another quick little turn, and they are on the stretch run to the first kilometer split. Under the gate there, and you'll get those splits at a 250 for Sinclair and Estepanol. Laning also right there, two Vanderbilt runners in the top three. Then you'll see Kieran Wood. Wood returns for this cross-country season. He was 10th in the SEC with a 23:11. Wood, as Tiger fans know, is the first and only University of Missouri track and field athlete during his career to break a 4-minute mile, a 3:59 and a fraction a couple of years ago. So we have the four in the lead group: Sinclair from Missouri, Estepanol from Vanderbilt, Lanning from Vanderbilt, and Wood from Missouri. The next group is led by Martin Prodanov, the Missouri junior. Prodanov, who we mentioned just a moment ago, he was one of the top Tiger finishers in the SEC that was run at the Kentucky Horse Park a year ago. Teams that are in this race today who competed on the course in Kentucky: Texas A&M finished 5th in last year's SEC Conference Championship. They scored 141. Missouri was 7th last year with a 162, and Vanderbilt 10th with a 239. Again, of the runners in this race who competed in the cross-country conference championship a year ago, Nick Lanning of Vanderbilt comes in as the top finisher from a year ago, and he was 12th in that race with a 23:21. While Missouri and Vanderbilt opened their season at the Commodore Classic, Texas A&M had its first competition of this year at the SEC Preview at LSU, and that was a 6K race. Of these runners in that race, Teddy Radke, the freshman from Texas A&M, finished 17th. Texas A&M also had the 22nd, the 24th, 25th, 27th, and 28th finisher. Texas A&M finished third out of 4 teams: Arkansas, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and LSU in the SEC preview. So a 250 split in the first 1,000 meters. This will be the first of 3 trips down this stretch of the course for the runners. They will come down, make a sharp left turn for them. They're heading north right now. They have what light wind there is behind them. They make this turn a few strides, and they'll cross the pad that'll register their times for 2K. So a 2:56 second kilometer split to go with the 2:50 for the opener, and Sinclair with just a slight lead, but those 4 all together, Sinclair, Estepinal, Lanning, and Wood, they're running 1 through 4, separated by less than a second. Martin Prodanov continues to lead the second group. He's 6 seconds behind the lead pack, and then Jonah Bird behind Prodanov by a little over 4 seconds. Right now, team standings through 2,000 meters would be Vanderbilt 30, Missouri 41, Texas A&M 52. Last week on this course, when we had the high schoolers running, it was a sunny day, a much warmer day, and the wind was a lot stronger. So on this stretch where the runners are running right now, which is their second time down what is the opening stretch off the start line, the runners were running into quite a headwind. Flags aren't quite as stiff today as they were last week, but still, this is the longest stretch where they'd be running into a wind. How come on this? The K markers are weird? Yeah. Okay, that's all right. I was just wanting to make sure that I was trying to find a way to show all the Ks. Yeah. It is. Yeah, it's hard to do when you have to overlap them. Yeah. But we got it. So here they come to the turn that they took as the first turn about 6 minutes ago, where they had their 1 kilometer split will now be the 3 kilometer split. Those of you who are watching on the screen, you can see a little bit of rain coming across every once in a while. It is light rain and not anything that cross-country runners haven't faced before if they have much of a career in cross-country running. Four in the lead: Sinclair, Estepinal, Lanning, and Wood, 2 Missouri runners and 2 Commodores from Vanderbilt. Wood, who has a 10th place finish in a prior SEC championship. We told you he has the school record indoor in the 3K. He's run just over 8 minutes on the 3,000 meters indoors. He was 3rd in the mile SEC. He's out of Cambridge, England, and he has run a 3:59 mile. Sinclair, who is the freshman who came in 3rd in the Commodore Classic a week ago out of New Zealand. He's a 1:52 800-meter runner. Then let's look at the Vanderbilt runners who are in that group also. Matthew Estepinal, he is a junior, 32nd in the regionals. A year ago, he was 35th in the SEC last year, running in Kentucky just at 24:03. And Nick Lanning, all-region, second team, all SEC with that 12th place finish. We told you that of these runners in this race right now, he has the best finish from an SEC conference meet last year. And in the region, he was 20th a year ago. .305 for the lead group. Those 4 that are away from the rest of the group, they have about a 10-second lead over Prodanov. Prodanov's lead 2.5 over Wes McPhail of Texas A&M. So 8:53 through 3,000 meters. The splits have gone from 2:50 to 2:56 to 3:05. Should round that up to 3:06. Last year's winner, Thomas George, ran a 24:50. The second place runner a year ago was Adam Fogg of Drake with a 24:57. Those are the only two that have run sub 25 minutes on this course. It's only the second year for the Gans Creek course. We're on the south side of Columbia, not far off of Highway 63. Great view from that lead vehicle as the runners go through that area there where they take the right line to shorten the run through a curve that goes one direction and then another direction. They are on a part of a course now that they had not run on the first lap. This will take them as far east as they will go on this course. Winding their way towards a tree line. They'll have a big loop to make, and then they'll be at the 4,000 meter split on the halfway point of their race. This is the first time around in a 3K. They'll have another 3K after this one. Two Vanderbilt runners running up front, Lanning and Estepanol. Missouri runners are Sinclair and Wood, a senior and a freshman for the Tigers. Martin Prodanoff, the Missouri runner who is leading the chase pack. He was 26th in the conference meet a year ago. Prodanoff, as a sophomore from Missouri, ran that race with a 24:49. Of the Missouri runners who are back competing this year in this race, Prodanoff is the top returning runner. Marquette Wilhite was 29th from Missouri in the conference race last year. They have gone through the 4,000 meter split, a 3:01 fourth kilometer for the leaders. Picked up the pace in that race. Of course, they did have some downhill. They'll start about 800 meters of a slight incline as they come from 4,000 meters to 5,000 meters. Lanning, Estepanol, Wood, and Sinclair still the lead group. They gained some time on the chaser Prodanoff as their lead is now up to 15 seconds over Prodanoff. Wes McPhail behind Prodanoff by 7 seconds. You'll see a lot in the 12:17 range. Almost all of those are Texas A&M Aggie runners. McPhail, McElhaney, Chung, Arcila, Cathraw, Radke, and Ben all running for Texas A&M in spots 6 through 12. And then that group is broken up by Jonah Byrne of Vanderbilt in 13th, and then back to another Texas A&M runner in 14th, Hoffpower. Texas A&M scoring through 4,000 meters with 40. Vanderbilt and Missouri at 45 each. If you're watching on video, look up in the background there. That is a berm that is a great vantage point when this place is filled with spectators, as it was a couple of times last year. It's a great vantage point right there, as you'll be able to see a good portion of that kilometer from 4 through 5 from right up there. Matthew Espinal, Estopino, from Huntsville, Alabama. He is leading right now. Kieran Wood running with him. William Sinclair starting to drop off the back for the Tigers. Here they come onto the turn. This is the straightaway towards the finish line. But they have one more 3,000 meter run, a lap to do. Rain is coming down a little bit heavier now than it was at the start of the race. The lead vehicle around that turn. And there come the runners through 5K. They've run 5,000 meters, the top three in under 15 minutes. The fourth just does squeeze by under 15. That split was a 3:01,000 meters for Estopinal and Wood, a 3:02 for Lanning, and for Sinclair, a 3:03. So now at 14:55, Estopinal and Wood and Lanning, and then Sinclair. Back another 17 seconds from Sinclair's Martin Prodanov of Missouri. And then we're going to see all those Texas A&M runners. Some changes, though, once you get through spots 12 through 15. Vanderbilt runners Jonah Bird, Corey Passernick, and Caleb Van Geffen. Passernick with a gain of 3 spots on the 5th kilometer. Moved up to 13th. Ben and Arcila from Texas A&M dropping down a bit on that kilometer. On pace through the first 5,000 meters to make this around a 24-minute 8,000 meters. They'd have to keep at the fastest pace that they've done over the last 2 kilometers, though, about 3:01. And again, we told you that the course record set last year in the Gans Creek Classic, Thomas George's 24:50. In the SEC Cross Country Championships in Kentucky last year, there were 4 who were under 23 minutes. The overall winner of the conference championship a year ago was Vincent Kiprop of Alabama. Gilbert Keegan of Alabama was second. They both under 23 minutes, and then joined by 2 Ole Miss runners. Gives you an idea of what the 8,000 meter times were on the conference level. There were 33 under 24 minutes in that race last year. This is the 3rd time on this part of the course for the runners. Wood has taken over the lead, and the 2 Vanderbilt runners tuck in behind him. Wood, Lanning, and Estopinal are the 3 leaders. That's William Sinclair. You can see in the background as they'll be making their way underneath the marker that will give them 6,000 meters into the race. Wood did not run in the Gans Creek a year ago. And you can see right now that it is becoming a 2-man race. Went through 6,000 meters just at 18 minutes. Wood and Estopinal, a 3:04 split in the 6th kilometer for Wood. Gave him about a 1.5 seconds of advantage over Estopinal. Nick Lanning starting to drop back just a bit, but trying to stay within the picture. And then a little bit further back, you'll see William Sinclair. Martin Prodanov, another 20 seconds, nearly 20 seconds behind his teammate Sinclair. And then a 10-second gap between Prodanov and McPhail. McPhail leading his teammates McElhaney, Hoffpower, Radke, Cothra, and Chung, as Texas A&M stays very strong. Even though they don't have a runner in the top 5, Texas A&M with the next runners 6 through 11. Angus Beer of Missouri has gained 3 spots in that 6th kilometer, so he's up to 12th and on the move. He split a 3:15. Team totals through 6,000 meters, Missouri with 39 and Texas A&M with 40, Vanderbilt with 47. Wood has consistently stayed on pace, and he has shown that that is a pace that the other that were in that group of four have not been able to keep. Wood with a 23:11:45 in the SEC championships back in 2018. Gave him a 10th place finish in that race. He was not in the SEC championships a year ago. Member of the DMR team from the University of Missouri that was second team All-SEC. All-SEC cross country with that 10th place finish in 2018. All-SEC in the mile run indoor with a third place finish. And sub 4-minute mile speed indoors 2 years ago. Wood has gone through the 7,000 meter mark right there, and his time is 20 minutes and 58 seconds. He was sub 3 minutes. How about the splits for Wood? He started out with a 2:51 split, then a 2:56, 3:05, 3:01, 3:01, 3:05, 2:57. The only one that put a sub 3 minute split in the 7,000 meter mark among the leaders. We still have several that have got to, that will need to come through that mark. Somebody might be on the move from behind. Wood's lead up to 7 seconds after 7,000 meters. Well, he could do some damage to the course record. Again, last year, Thomas George from Missouri at 24:49.9. Wood through 7,000 meters under 21 minutes by 2 seconds. So if he could split another 23, he'll be right at 24 minutes. Two weeks ago in Nashville at the Commodore Classic on a course that was measured at 7,900 meters, Wood ran 5th in that race with a 24:54. That was a get the season started outing. And now here on the second time on his home course. This will be one of 2 times that they'll be running. We have another meet scheduled on this course. The Tigers will be hosting in a couple of weekends on a Friday. This is Wood. Kieran Wood will make this big turn to his right and be on the straightaway for the run into the finish. Wood, Estopino, Lanning, Sinclair, Prodanov. Those are the top 5. 3 Tigers and 2 Commodores in that top 5. And then the next 6 runners are all Texas A&M runners. Marquette Wilhite of Missouri had a real strong last 2 kilometers. Let's make it the last 3. He's moved up 10 spots within the last 3 kilometers. Let's see if he can pull into the top 10 before his race is done. Here comes Kieran Wood. He'll be on the straightaway towards the finish line. Just at 23 minutes and 40 seconds. Will we see a sub 24 today? The lead vehicle's off to the side. And we will. Kieran Wood will have the new course record as he'll come underneath the finish line banner. And there's Kieran Wood, Missouri's lead runner today with the new record on this course, 23:54.5. Matthew Estopino from Vanderbilt will be second. Nick Lanning from Vanderbilt third, and that'll be William Sinclair of Missouri. Another solid run for him in his first year as a Missouri Tiger. Sinclair from New Zealand. Nice article about his recruiting in the morning paper today. The Tribune doing a good article about how he ended up at Missouri. So Missouri 1-4, Vanderbilt 2-3, with the team standings still to be determined. This should be Martin Prodanov next for the Tigers, and then look at the group of Texas A&M runners who will be following Prodanov. Prodanov at 24:37. He's also under the course record from a year ago. So was Radke. So was McPhail. McElhaney also. The top 8 finishers all beat the winning time from last year on this course in this race. Gavin Hoffpower, 9th. Cooper Cathra from Texas A&M will be next. And here comes Marquette Wilhite. Wilhite moves up to an 11th place finish, gaining a spot on the last kilometer. Missouri runners in 1st, 4th, 5th, 11th, and 13th. Those will be the top 5 for Missouri. Texas A&M dominated 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Add those numbers up, though, and you'll see Missouri 34, A&M 40, Vanderbilt 57. Tigers will win the second Gans Creek Classic and win the Classic for the 2nd year in a row. Last 1,000 meters for Wood, as he ended up winning by 11 seconds, was a 2:56. Thomas Radke split a 2:53.8 on his last 1,000 meters and gained 3 spots, so he moved up to 6th from 9th to 6th with that fast split. Scanning to see if anybody else ran near that time on the last 1,000 meters. Radke had the best last kilometer. But over the last 2,000 meters, nobody could match Kieran Wood. Wood, who was with the lead group of 4 at the beginning of the race, continued to be steady. Moved to 3rd by the halfway point. He was 2nd at 5,000 meters, and over the last 3,000 meters, Kieran Wood pulled away for the win today in the Gans Creek Classic. The senior at Missouri, a 23:54.5. New course record for 8,000 meters run by Wood. And as I said a little while ago, the top 8 finishers all under the winning time from last year. Well, that's the men's race. Again, Missouri 34, A&M 40, and Vanderbilt 57. Our track time is coming up on 9:30. The women's 6,000-meter race will start in a half an hour. 10 minutes away from the start of our second race, and that'll be the 6,000-meter run for the cross-country championship in the Gans Creek Classic year number 2. We're going to go through the box assignments and tell you who will be running for each team as we near that start. So let's go ahead and get started with that right now. We'll tell you that the winning time last year in this race, in the first collegiate race on this course, was 21 minutes 12.4 seconds. We had 7, make that 8 a year ago, who broke 22 minutes on this course. The winning time last year, Caitlin Shea, she was running unattached. First collegiate winner last year was Kelsey Warren of Texas A&M, a 21:19 time. Sarah Chapman of Missouri finished third in the Gans Creek Classic in 2019, and she does return and will be on the course today for Missouri. So here's how they're going to be lining up. We'll go through the lowest to the highest box numbers. Texas A&M women will be in boxes 10, 11, and 12. They'll be running Rachel Bernardo, Julia Black, Caitlin Buckley, Emily Chastain, Laura Fairchild, Carrie Fish, Megan Hopper, Deidre Nelson, Grace Plain, and Abby Santoro. Black and Santoro are the top returners for Texas A&M, and we did see Texas A&M on this course last year. Julia Black finished 10th in the race a year ago. And again, Texas A&M comes in. They are picked to finish 10th in the conference this year in the preseason coaches poll for women's SEC cross country. Vanderbilt picked 8th in that same poll. Vanderbilt brings 7 runners today. They'll be in boxes 15, 16, and 17. For Vanderbilt, Caroline Eck, Grace Jensen, Anna Grace Morgan, Jillian Mortimer, Lainey Phillips, Jacqueline Pinon, and Haley Walker. Top returners among that group for the Commodores will be Grace Jensen, number 5 all-time in the Vanderbilt 1500. She's also 16th in the SEC cross country last year. Haley Walker also returns. She is a sub 2:10 minute 800-meter runner, and we'll talk more about those runners as the race unfolds. For the University of Missouri, they will be in boxes 20, 21, and 22. This year, Missouri's women are picked to finish 4th in the conference. Last year, the Missouri women, when Kentucky hosted the conference championship, the Tigers finished 3rd behind Arkansas and Ole Miss in the conference championship. Missouri will put these runners in those boxes to start. Rochelle Bain, Andy Bowman, Sarah Chapman, who we mentioned a moment ago, 3rd in this race in 2019. Isabel Christensen, Abby Hake, Corinna Liz, Jenna Letzow, Lexi Maddox, Ginger Munix, McKenna Revord, Riley Revord, and Kelsey Schweitzer at the start line for Mark Burns and his squad. And that will be Missouri in boxes 20, 21, and 22. Now, Arkansas is the defending national champion of cross country on the women's side. They have won 7 straight SEC titles and are picked first in this year's preseason poll. And that would make their 8th year in a row if they go on and win the conference championship, and would be their 21st all-time SEC women's cross-country championship. They come in after finishing 1 through 5 in their first race of the season, and that was in the SEC preview hosted by LSU. They had the top 5 runners in that race. So despite losing a lot of seniors from last year's national championship team, they come in with a lot of hopes and a lot of promise for this year, and they bring 18 to the race today. Those runners are Josie Carson, Taylor Ewart, Chrissy Gear, Abby Gray, Lauren Gregory, Gracie Hyde, Logan Morris, Julia Patternane, Lainey Quant, Quinn Owen, Alex Ritchie, Corey Smith, Kennedy Thompson, Megan Underwood, Isabel Van Camp, Adowet Vaughn, Mackenzie Wilkes, and Tori Willis. Ewart started out her career, she's a freshman at Arkansas, started out winning that LSU pre-SEC race. It was a 5,000-meter race a couple of weeks ago in 16 minutes and 53 seconds. She is the National Gatorade Track and Field Athlete of the Year and qualified for the Olympic trials in the 20-kilometer race walk. She is among the 18 for the Razorbacks that'll be at the start line. We are about 3 or 4 minutes away from the gun that will send them on their 2 loops, 3,000 meters each loop. For those who are watching online, again, we'll give you the conditions. The temperature is 48. It's one of those pesky rains today where it's not been measured at a lot, only 1/100 of an inch measured at a measuring facility on the campus of the University of Missouri. The winds are from the east-southeast, generally at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Again, 48 degrees, feels like about 45 this morning. We are away from the campus just a bit. New surroundings, Gans Creek, part of a great park and recreation facility from the Columbia Parks and Recreation Department, who are very busy also managing this meet today, as are volunteers and those from the officials group at the University of Missouri. Appreciate their time today and everybody who makes this meet run smoothly. You can follow the race at pttiming.com. That will have all of the race results, pretty complete information there. And those of you who are watching the streaming today are watching that courtesy of the good work of Cody Branch at Prime Time. And so keeping us up to date that way. We're about ready to go. The officials at the start line will take over, and we'll have the 6,000 year number 2 Gans Creek Classic for the women coming up. All of these teams have raced already this cross-country season, except for Texas A&M. They come in as this is their opening meet. Caitlin Shea, the winner of this race in the Gans Creek Classic in 2019 with a 21:12. The first collegiate winner was Kelsey Warren. She was in her senior year at Texas A&M with a 21:19.6. So the top returner from last year's race on this course, Sarah Chapman of Missouri, and she ran a 21:27. Julia Black from Texas A&M, 10th in that race a year ago. The SEC Cross Country Championship last year, Lauren Gregory of Arkansas was the first non-senior to finish for Arkansas. So Lauren Gregory, a 20:35 on the 6,000-meter run at the Kentucky Horse Park in 2019, first day of November. Arkansas on its way to its 7th straight conference championship, right before they went on for their championship on the NCAA, their first women's cross-country championship last year. Arkansas scored 21 points last year in the cross-country championship for the Southeastern Conference. They had finishers 1, 2, 4, 5, and 9. What a dominating performance they did in the SEC, as they have done over the last several years. So we'll watch as things shake out today. We'll also tell you that Missouri comes in. This is their second meet of the season. Sarah Chapman ran second at the Vanderbilt Commodore Classic. That was a race that was of 6,080 meters. Officially, she was behind an Alabama runner. Chapman, the top finisher for Missouri, ran a 21:07 in that race. Ginger Mernieks of Missouri was also in the top 10. She finished 7th with a 21:38. Vanderbilt's Grace Jensen, who's in the field today in the Commodore Classic on her home course, finished 11th in that race. Team-wise, Kentucky and Alabama took 1 and 2. Missouri was 3rd in the Commodore Classic on September the 19th. Arkansas comes in having already competed this year in the SEC preview at LSU, and they took spots 1 through 5 in that race, with Taylor Ewart leading her squad. Ewart, Gray, Morris, Gregory, and Smith 1 through 5, as they scored a perfect 15 in winning the SEC preview. Again, Arkansas chosen to be the top team in the SEC conference again this year. So this is around the turn. They headed south into the wind that is blowing nearly 10 miles an hour at its peak today. They headed south into that, made a big turn, and now heading north, so the wind would be behind them. And they'll be coming up on their split for 1,000 meters. They'll be running, and again, if you're unfamiliar with this course, it has a 2K loop, the inner loop, and then a 3,000-meter loop. This is a 6,000-meter run today. The women will be making 2 loops. They'll come through 1,000 meters. We'll get those splits. Right now they're going to make a loop that'll go south, that'll go north of a pond, and then start their weaving through towards a tree line as far east as they will go, and that far east is going to put them at about 2,700 meters when they'll start heading back west and hit their 2K split. So here are the leaders, 2 Arkansas runners. Abby Gray and Taylor Ewart led the group through at 3:13. Sarah Chapman of Missouri, who is the Tigers' top returner for this race, at a under 3:15. They'll be back here at the what will eventually be the finish line at the halfway point of the race. We've got the 2 leaders from Arkansas, who we mentioned a moment ago, heading slightly downhill there, and they pulled away from the rest of the group. Abby Gray of Arkansas, she ran 7th on this team last year. Most of the time she was the 7th runner for her squad a year ago. Abby Gray, a senior, she was the runner-up in the LSU SEC preview, runner-up to the teammate that she's running beside right now, and that'd be Taylor Ewart. Ewart comes in as one of the most acclaimed runners out of high school. Ewart won last week, or excuse me, 2 weeks ago, the preview with a 16:53, just a couple of seconds ahead of her teammate Gray. Those 2 again leading as you'll see them coming up around the turn. What great camera work today. Those of you who are watching online are getting a really good opportunity to see how this course lays, and also great vantage point of these runners. Again, they're taking the angle so well, following that chalk line that leads them in between a well-measured course here at Gans Creek Recreational Facility in Columbia. Gray will take the lead. That lead that had been a few strides by Gray and Ewart is now pulled back up, and we're going to see a good group running together when they get to the 2,000-meter split, which will be around this turn. They're as far east on this course as they will be, and they'll be running this the first of 2 times down in a low spot, and then they'll start a slight gentle climb. You'll see all those Arkansas runners and 1 Missouri runner with them. The Missouri runner is Sarah Chapman. Gray, Ewart, Smith, Patternane, Van Camp. Those are the Arkansas runners 5 of the top 6. The first Vanderbilt runner is Grace Jensen. We told you to expect Grace Jensen to be leader of her team. She's number 5 all-time at Vanderbilt in the 1500, number 9 all-time in the indoor 3000. She finished 16th in the SEC conference meet a year ago, the top Vanderbilt finisher in that race, and she does return, Jensen, now for her sophomore year. So 2,000 meters, Gray with a 6:37, just a second ahead of her teammate Gear, and then Ewart right there with Gear. Sarah Chapman 4th, also in the 6:37. 7 of the runners under 6:40 through 2,000 meters. The fastest of the 2,000, the second kilometer, was a 3:22 split by Chrissy Gear. That moved her up 7 spots in that 1,000-meter portion. She was 9th through the first K. Well, it's clear the team that would be leading if you combined the scores through 2,000 meters, and that would be Arkansas running 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6, and throw in the 7th place to Arkansas also. Some of you standing on that berm just to the south of the finish line have a good view of the runners as they come around right there. And this is a course that gives some great vantage points. If it was a day where we did not have COVID-19 restrictions, it would be great to see a good crowd along there cheering on these runners as they'll come a big loop towards the south from where they are right now, and then head on the line that will bring them through towards the finish line. They'll veer off right before the finish line and head back south where they started their race a little over 8.5 minutes ago. Group of 7, 6 of those are Razorbacks from Arkansas. They'll angle in now so that they can get close to that turn. Again, those of you watching the video, what a great opportunity to see how this course lays out. A little bit of downhill there and good flat stretch into the finish line. Sarah Chapman of Missouri tucked in among the Razorback runners. Chapman, a 3:15 first 1,000 meters. Came back at 6:38 through 2,000 meters. Team scores would give you Arkansas 17, Missouri 59, and Vanderbilt 62. That was after the 2,000-meter split. Look at how they spread across right there. 6 wide as they come onto the runway. They'll be making the turn to their left as they come up here. So you'll see them start to pull back in close to that white line as they'll be coming through the halfway point. Course record for 6,000 meters for the women, 21:12. Through the halfway point, and they're going to be very close to 10 minutes. They have a real good chance of destroying that track record right at 10 minutes there as the group of 7 around and now heading back south. 3,000 meters, 9:59.8 for Abby Gray. Taylor Ewart also under the 10-minute mark, right at 10 minutes. Sarah Chapman. Chapman ran this course at 21:27 last year, finishing 3rd. That's where she is now, 3rd. Gray and Ewart for Arkansas, Chapman, and then back to Arkansas runners Chrissy Gear, Corey Smith, Lauren Gregory, Isabel Van Camp, Kennedy Thompson, and Megan Underwood. Domination by Arkansas. Their first visit to Gans Creek on this course. They like it through the first half of their race. Corey Smith gained 2 spots in the 3rd kilometer of the race. Other movement, we saw Logan Morris also up 3 spots. 3:22 split on that 3rd kilometer was a couple of seconds faster than the 2nd kilometer. They opened up at 3:13, then the leaders at 3:24 for the second 1,000 meters and a 3:22 for the third 1,000. So they know the course now. This is their second trip around it. Abby Gray, the senior. Taylor Ewart, the freshman. Ewart, National Gatorade Track and Field Athlete of the Year last year. Two-time Gatorade Ohio Athlete of the Year. Broke her school records in the mile, a 4:48 high school mile, 2 mile in 10:18. She ranks number 5 performer with the number 9 performance all-time on the high school 2,000-meter steeple list. Her senior season in high school, and again, she was from Beaver Creek, Ohio, Beaver Creek High School. Ewart, the state title in cross country, placed 2nd in the Nike Nationals, 6th in the Foot Locker Nationals. Sarah Chapman, who's the lead runner from Missouri, number 1 Mizzou runner, 18th in the SEC. Told you she was 3rd on this course in last year's race. A 4:42 miler, number 6 all-time at Mizzou. Chapman's 9:21 indoor 3K. She's also number 6 all-time. She's out of Maidenhead, England. When the year was disrupted a year ago and there was no outdoor season, she went home, has spoken of the opportunity to reset and to get some good running in there during that time where all competition was stopped. She's side by side at the lead. We will be getting the 4,000-meter splits as they are off those wiggly turns and now on a brief straightaway towards the 1,000-meter split. Big turn to their right coming around the pond next. So there's 4,000 meters for the leaders. 13:28. Abby Gray continues to lead. She's been in the lead at every one of the split marks. Ewart running 2nd. Another 3:28 in the 4th kilometer. And Chapman right there with him at a 3:28. You don't see much cross-country racing as close as those top 6 are. Gray, Ewart, Chapman, then Lauren Gregory, Corey Smith, Chrissy Gear, all within a second of each other at the 4,000-meter split. Then a slight gap, and then you'll have the next group, and that would be Isabel Van Camp of Arkansas, Kennedy Thompson, Logan Morris. So 3:28 for their 4th kilometer. It's been their slowest. Might see a bit faster on this part of the race course, if I remember right. I think there's a little bit of a downhill between the 4th and the 5th kilometer. We saw in the men's race, Kieran Wood started to pull away in the last 2,000 meters, and he went on to win in a new course record time. There was a group of 4 leaders in that men's 8,000-meter run earlier this morning, and it just kept on dwindling down until Wood was the clear winner by himself. Wood's time 23:54. He was able to win by about 11 seconds. Be interesting to see if there is any separation in this group. There's no sign that these 6 or 7 that are running are going to drop off like we saw in the men. The 3 that continue to lead are Sarah Chapman, Abby Gray, Taylor Ewart. Stringing out just a bit. Look at that move there. Cutting to the inside, but can't get on the inside of Chapman, who keeps and hugs the inside of the course. This is slightly downhill. They make a turn. There's a tree line that they're running straight towards. They'll make the turn and they'll head back west and get the 4,000-meter split. Make that 5,000-meter split. Lauren Gregory of Arkansas has moved up right onto the back right shoulder of Sarah Chapman. Look at the Arkansas runners now as that group has been sliced in half. And who's going to stay with Chapman and Gregory? Lauren Gregory, 72nd in the NCAA when Arkansas was on its way to its national championship last year. She was a 9th place finisher in the SEC with a 20:34 a year ago. Gregory, 4th at the LSU pre-SEC Classic. They were running 5K. Went that 5K in 17:07. How about today? Lauren Gregory in a 6,000-meter race went through 5,000 meters at 16:48, right with Sarah Chapman. Chapman and Gregory, slight gap of a second to Chrissy Gear, and then Taylor Ewart, another second back. Those four at 16:51 or better. With 1,000 meters to go, Sarah Chapman with the lead. About 800 meters left. Chapman running out of Maidenhead, England. A 4:42 miler. Led the Missouri team throughout last season. She was the top Missouri runner in all 6 of the races last year for the Tigers. Got the 3rd place finish in the Gans Creek Classic last year. Last year's time, a 21:27. Moving smoothly today downhill, as only one has been able to run with her, and that's Lauren Gregory. Chapman, though, coming off of a 21:07 on the 19th of September at the Vanderbilt's Commodore Classic. She's at 18:45 now. One turn away from a win in the Gans Creek Classic. Chapman makes this turn. The wooden railings right there, and a little gap where the spectators are allowed through earlier in the race. Cheering for Sarah Chapman, the senior for Missouri, trying to move up from a 3rd place finishing last year to a 1st place this year, and just has the straightaway to go. Chapman, 18th in the SEC championship a year ago with a 20:49. 19.5 minutes now. Chapman, Gregory in the picture. Then you'll see Ewart. I believe that's her. Let me check that. It's probably Chrissy Gear and then Ewart in the back. Arkansas is going to have a hard team finish to beat, but Sarah Chapman is putting the mark of the Tiger on the 1st place finish in the Gans Creek Classic. Here's Sarah Chapman of Mizzou, going to be very close to a 21-minute or 20-minute mark. That is another new course record. Chapman the win, 20 minutes, 1.1 second. Gregory 2nd, Gear, and then Ewart, as we called them through as the top 4. 5th and 6th also going to be Arkansas Razorbacks. The race belongs individually to Sarah Chapman, and the team, Arkansas, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, gives them 20 for the race. Here come more Razorbacks in, and we'll see the 2nd finisher for Missouri in this group, and that'll be Ginger Merniques. Merniques finishes 10th with a 20:46. That's also under last year's winning time. These times are terrific compared to what we had a year ago in this race. We've seen 13 under 21 minutes. Last year there were none under 21 minutes. Arkansas finishes 20 on the team standings. Chapman with a 3:12 last split in the 6th kilometer, pulled away 5 seconds faster than her closest competitor. Sarah Chapman, just a huge, strong last 1,000 meters. Missouri's Chapman first. Right now the team standing still to be determined as Vanderbilt scores 72 with its first 5 that are scored. Missouri at 61 through its first 5 scored. Tigers getting scoring for 1st, 9th, 11th, 19th, and 21st. Sarah Chapman of Missouri, just a second over 20 minutes through the 6,000 meters today. The new Gans Creek course record. She ran a 21:07 mid-September on a 6,080 meter course at the Vanderbilt Classic. And she has improved that. She could have run another 80 meters and still had a faster time than what she did at Vanderbilt. 20.01 for Sarah Chapman of Missouri. In good form early October. In just the second cross-country race of the year for the team. We had 47 on the race course at the beginning. I believe we had a couple of scratches. But we're going to have around 45 finishing the race today. And we're going to see more cross-country racing on this course on October the 16th at the Missouri Cross Country Invitational. So that's it. It's been a good morning. We've seen the fastest races yet on the Gans Creek course. Thank you for being here, spectators. We appreciate you supporting the runners. We wish the crowd could have been bigger, but thank you for respecting the orders from the health department here in Columbia and Boone County with the masking and also the social distancing. Great running today. These teams are going to have good seasons, with Arkansas winning the women's with 20 points today. Sarah Chapman almost breaking 20 minutes on the 6,000 meter race for the women. On the men's side, Kieran Wood with the individual win time of 23 minutes 54 and a half seconds. Missouri's men winning the men's race 34 to Texas A&M 40. That'll be it from the racing today at the Gans Creek course. Thanks to the Columbia Parks and Recreation for their work in making this meet happen. Also for the Track and Field Association at the University of Missouri. And for the teams, we wish you the best luck for the rest of the cross-country season, and hope to see you again at the Gans Creek course in the future.